Now, when it comes to mutual fund and equity and the share market, there is always a factor of risk, right? So you brought up this topic of risk some time ago, but I want you to elaborate on risks. What are the different risks one would meet in their investment journey?
Different types of risk. If you go into
Yeah,
different asset class, you have a different types of risk. Risk means only uncertainty, not loss. People perceive this to be a loss. Even if you get more than your expected or your desired income, that's
correct.
again a risk, because this fluctuation across the mean is risk. No. So suppose you are choosing equity, then in equity you will have an unsystematic risk, you will have a systematic risk. If you are choosing debt, you will have interest rate risk, you will have a credit risk, you will have a default risk. So different types of
Hmm.
instrument that you choose, you will have a different types of risk to address. Risk is a complex for an individual to measure, because there is a method of measuring each
Hmm.
risk. In fact, it also will find they are measured and displayed, but I
Yeah.
doubt that an ordinary investor will be able to identify the definition of risk, number one.
Okay.
A definition and the measurement of the risk, that's a
Hmm.
technical word like beta,
Hmm.
then duration, then credit spread, and all these words are quite technical. So for an ordinary investor, it's very difficult. So if he's finding it little
Right.
difficult, he should take the help of a distributor or an advisor. They will help him out to identify which one
Hmm.
actually appears
Okay.
to be one where his risk appetite matches with the
Hmm.
scheme risk. All of us has got our own risk appetite. Suppose someone
Equity.
says, I
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
risk, but I want to invest in equity. That means index fund.
Fine.
So that way they are able to categorize the scheme selection for you. So that's a
Okay.
better way to approach the
Fine. I
mutual
have
fund
seen
and
in
the
a couple of
schemes when it comes to risk
online
specification.
platforms that there is a risk measurement technique. It shows that your risk factor is high and low. If you choose a particular stock market or if you choose a particular mutual fund, it says your ROI is less or high. So, what are the measurement techniques when it comes to risks? How is it categorized?
The two, yeah, there are two, three
Uh-huh.
aspects that through which you can approach. One is the measuring risk of an individual. And for this, you will find a lot of
Mm.
formats are there on the computer where they will ask a lot of questions like your past
Mm.
experience with the market, your earnings or your losses that you in the market, and whether you will be able to
Yeah.
adjust with 5,000 rupees gain or 5,000 rupees loss. So many questions they ask based on behavior. And then they will tell you whether you are a risk averse person, risk neutral person, or risk taking ability person. So that is the one way of approaching the risk. Another way is the measuring risk in the
Different risk.
assets or in the schemes, because each schemes will have a different risk.
Mm.
So measuring risk of a schemes are very technical in nature that
Yeah.
normally we display by measuring through the fact sheets and other formats. But normally you will find on the platform it's about measurement of individual risk appetite. And I will say to certain extent, people deal candidly, they speak, and we are able to more or less identify that what risk category they belong to. But the problem is that no, people will have a very
Yeah.
limited
True.
memory and do not have very long memory. People changes their answer. Look here, if market starts going up, they will say, "I will buy equity. I like equity." If market tanks, the same person will say, "I do not like equity. I will not invest equity." Now the person he is changing his answers at a different market and different experience behavior. So that
Okay.
makes it difficult for anyone to
Uh-huh.
standardize his risk perception.
Right.
This is very difficult subject. So it's a subjective area.
Mm.
So what I suggest is that
Okay.
no, you should always take the expert
Uh-huh.
somebody like we said
Okay.
doctors, no, so some
So, do you have
financial
any
doctors.
model
They are there,
portfolio
they will
one
help
should
you out
follow?
over there. Yeah, very
Yeah.
famous model portfolio which is there. By one
Uh,
researcher and a Bogley, and he said a thumb rule that the
okay.
depending upon the age of a person or an investor, the amount of
Mm.
debt should be in your portfolio. Like suppose somebody is 25-year old, so you should have a 25% debt, 75% equity.
Okay.
Somebody 50-year old, 50% debt, 50% equity. Somebody 75-year old should have a 75% debt, 25%. It's a very famous model, a
Okay.
thumb rule you can say. Based upon that we create
Uh-huh.
different type of portfolio. There are many other model like Benjamin Graham model is there. Those model are
Fine.
little complex, but I think they all move around this
Mm.
area is that the person
Okay.
has got a risk ability, risk appetite, he should invest
Uh,
in equity. If a person has got
okay.
lesser risk
Fantastic.
appetite, risk ability,
Uh,
he should invest
I
less in.
also heard about few things such as investor rationale and logical part. So what are they when it comes to investment? Ah, yeah.
Yeah, the same was I was talking about the behavioral part. No, people perceive it to be that people say
Right.
that I am a logical person, I am a rational. When it comes to investment market, no. What is the conflict? Conflict says we say that you are an emotional investor. They say we are a logical investor. Difference between these two is that emotional
Okay.
investor is one who are guided by their fear and greed.
Uh-huh.
Logical are those who are guided by numbers and the facts. Now, see, number and facts sometimes are good,
Right.
but only when it comes to fear and greed, no, they supersede the numbers and facts.
Right.
So, people may claim to be a logical and rational investor, but they behave like an emotional investor. So, this conflict is there, and that is why this word comes. Risk means what? Risk means loss, or risk means uncertainty. For an finance, in the classical finance, people will say risk means
Okay.
only uncertainty, whether you get extra or you get less, both are risky. But on the
Uh,
behavioral side, people will say, oh my God, if I'm getting more, why should it be called risk? It's a profit for me. Only losses are risk for me. So
right.
this is a conflict area. Big conflict area is there. A lot of books have been written on this. Read a couple of fantastic
Okay.
books like
Okay.
Nudge,
Great.
Thinking Fast, Thinking Slow by Daniel Kahneman and all.
Uh,
Brilliant book. And they explain this part of the investor
yes.
behavior
Yes.
where they claim to be
Investor
logical,
behavior is
but they
also a
behave
very important
emotionally.
factor when it comes to risk taking capability, because some people, as you said, they go by numbers
Yes.
and some are through references. So you can't blame anybody. Uh, the biases we discuss about the biases of investments, right? So what are the different biases we have that investors tend to show to us towards the investment platform? Okay.
Series of biases. I spoke
Okay.
one about the herd mentality right now. I will say one more about recency biases. Now, what is recency biases? Something what happened yesterday will have a profound impact on us because we
Yeah.
remember that yesterday something bad happened and I am getting impacted a big
True.
way on that.
Mm.
The same thing after a month it fades away. People learn a lesson today because of yesterday experience and they
Yeah.
forget the lesson after a month or a week because it feels, oh, it's not important. Recency biases. So
Uh-huh.
what we when we make investments, so like that, a series of biases are there, and they all make you
So
an
they're all
emotional
time bound,
investor,
you
a
say,
weak investor
right?
instead of a logical or rational investor. Yeah, this recency bias is in fact a very, very
Yeah,
time
it
bound. No,
fades
the
away.
moment it goes away from your memory, you
Right.
fade. You feel, no,
So
I'm
how
not perturbed.
how does
No, I'm
someone
not
has to
perturbed.
manage biases? If
Yeah, discipline. Only based discipline. Because see, the words like mutual fund offers you
uh-huh.
fantastic
Right.
jargons like SIP, discipline, portfolio, diversification, asset allocation.
Mm.
I'm not doing
True.
myself. I am asking you to do on behalf of me. That's a
Mm.
fund management. So these are the perfect way through which you can
Okay.
discipline and then
Now
you can get
when
rid
it
of
comes
your
to investment
biases. That's the
biases,
perfect.